I got something to say. And I want to give the shout out right away because some of you maybe read it. The shout out goes to Grant Brisbee from The Athletic, even though he went to Burlingame High School. And I'll hold that against him for the rest of his life because Burlingame High School is an awful place. It's an awful place where terrible things happen. I shouldn't say that. That actually paid my dad's salary and put food on my table for many years. But I went to the rival high school, so I joke. But anyway, Grant Brisbee, with his most recent article in The Athletic, did something for me that I rarely do, which is it got me to think about luxury taxes in baseball. They're relatively new as compared to basketball, and because Warriors checkbook championship Joe Lacob, I think we think sometimes about luxury taxes in the NBA. I don't think about them in baseball. I couldn't have told you the rules. I don't know what the tax line is. I don't know what the penalties are. I now know more. Because I read the article.
Yeah, me too.
However, this isn't about the luxury taxes in a large sense. It's about them in a small sense. And here's the opinion I've come to. The opinion I've come to is that Jordan Montgomery and Blake Snell, two top-line starting pitchers, are both still sitting on a free agent market that seems to not be paying guys what they want. And the San Francisco Giants not only have no excuse to not sign one, I now believe that it would literally be to the point of embarrassing if they don't. And here's why. I know the Matt Chapman rumor has been there all offseason. I now have reached the point of sort of could take it or leave it. You know, Luciano shortstop, J.D. Davis, Wilmer Flores, there's Casey Schmidt that just signed Nick Ahmed to a minor league contract. Can they figure out a way to handle the left side of the infield without Matt Chapman? Probably. Can their lineup figure out, hitting home runs without him? Probably. It'd be great, but not at the expense of another starting pitcher, which is where their money should go. The San Francisco Giants are under the tax. And if we can sort of gather what Cody Bellinger just did and figure, all right, these guys are not getting the 6, 7, 8-year deals that they want. And the luxury tax is the reason why. All of these teams out there are like, well, yeah, we could do that, but then we're going to be way over the tax, and we're going to Kelly Oubre ourselves for the next 5 years. They don't want to do that. All right, fine. So what do? Well, you look at what Bellinger did, Ohtani. Could Jordan Montgomery or Blake Snell do the short opt-outs, 1, 2, 3-year deal for a higher average annual value? Well, Brisbee wrote this article based on the idea of, could you just give Blake Snell $40 million? 1-year deal, $40 million. And maybe it's a 2-year $80 million with an opt-out for Blake. So if he opts in, Conforto style, would it kill you? I don't want to bore you with all the numbers. Here's what you need to know. If the Giants did that, $40 million for 1 year, their luxury tax penalty right now would be $3 to $4 million. Let me say this carefully to Giants ownership. Who cares about $3 to $4 million when you're trying to become viable, interesting, and good in a division with the Dodgers and the Padres? The other teams that are the normal contenders who might sign these guys, from the Yankees, who are in their 3rd year of being a tax penalty team, so are the Mets, so are the Padres, so are the Phillies, the Rangers, Blue Jays, Braves, second-time offenders. In other words, they can't do it. They can't come to the party with what the Giants can offer. Only the Red Sox are a team out there that is also under the penalty line and has room to put a player like this in. And if I'm a pitcher, where do I want to pitch? Fenway Park or Oracle Park? This is where you have your advantage. You don't have to sell Cody Bellinger on hitting the ball over a little corner called Triples Alley. You actually can give that as a good reason. Hey, our ballpark's huge. Come pitch here. You'll be amazing. They are the only team, essentially, that is not going to be penalized for doing this. They have a clear need, a clear advantage in negotiations on multiple fronts. There is no reason, and I will not let with these microphones in front of us, I will not let us not use the time to basically demand that the San Francisco Giants go get one of these pitchers before the season starts. You need it. We need it. You can do it. There's nothing in your way at all. Get it done. That's all.
I love it. I love it. And you use the word up front that I think is the word that many fans have attached to the Farhan Zaidi era, which is embarrassment. And you laid it out, Grant Brisbee, with a great piece about the teams that can. And those teams that are over the tax, they can do it. And they can go full lake up on it. And they can just decide that they want to pay that Kelly Oubre tax, as you laid it out. So it doesn't preclude them from doing it. Those teams that are already up there in that third tier, especially if it's a one-year deal. If you think that Snell can help you and you want to make 40 turn into 72 million, teams can do that. But the team that is below the Red Sox and the Giants, those are the teams. And there are many other teams, but a lot of those other organizations aren't going to be in on a pitcher who's going to make that much. So in terms of teams that are really looking to spend and compete, it could come down to those two teams, the Red Sox and the Giants. And, well, Farhan and his ability to pay that much for a player, he's only shown it once.
No, but it doesn't even, like, to me, I've never thought that Farhan was worried about money. He's worried about years. And that's what the hesitation has always been, is they don't want to sign people up, especially pitchers, long-term, because Johnny Cueto things start happening. And, right, Rodon. Look at what happens. You do that, and their arm gets hurt, and then you're just hosed. And so no one wants to do this with a 31-year-old Blake Snell. And they don't want to overpay on 1 year because the Yankees, it truly would be an Oubre situation. You do Snell for 40, It's actually going to cost you 80. And we can say, yes, they can do that, but they won't. They won't. They're not like...
the Dodgers might, just on principle.
No, that's the one team I didn't bring up, and you're right. Like, the Dodgers are that nuts.
Right.
So they might.
Yeah, and
so don't let them.
You talk about revenue and versus the expenditure, and that's where Joe Lacob has been all these years where, we're not doing $400 million. Well, this year you're doing $380 million, and if the Warriors were, 42 and 17 right now, he would feel good about doing it again next year, but they're not. So it becomes a calculus in terms of risk and reward, and if you're the Dodgers, you're desperate to get another one, if not two, and you want to build a dynasty down there, and you just got the two biggest free agents in the offseason, one of whom you're paying peanuts to because of your genius front office being able to defer a lot of the payments. So if you're the Dodgers, you look at Snell especially, and you go, 1 for 40? Sure. That might put us over the top, at least for a year until Shohei Ohtani can pitch again. So they become a very viable competitor in this market.
Some quick breaking news on another front in that indeed, and we said this might be a possibility, he goes from out of the rotation to in the starting lineup. Moses Moody will start for Andrew Wiggins tonight, the game that's going to start in just about an hour and 20 minutes in Washington, and we'll walk you up to that game. But Wiggins is out, personal reasons. Moody is in to the starting lineup.
Good. And I guess that would mean that Clay is still going to be coming off the bench, which is, you want to see a good sample of how that looks. And so Clay comes off the bench.
We'll get into that a lot more on Warriors Live, which is going to come at you here in about 10 or 15 minutes. I did want to say one other thing since you brought up the Dodgers. Here's one other thing to mention about Snell and Montgomery. They're both left-handed. I think that's a significant conversation because right now, I know they're holding out hope that Kyle Harrison's going to be ready and awesome, and I have that belief too, but right now, Logan Webb, and then in a few weeks, Alex Cobb, right? Like, what do the Dodgers have? They've got Ohtani, they've got Freeman, they've got Muncy. They have had problems against good left-handed starting pitchers. In fact, they've had problems specifically against Blake Snell. I don't usually say this because I think it's a dangerous comment when we start talking about what teams and people with teams owe the fans. They owe the fans a game. They owe you your pizza and beer when you give them money, right? Like, but this is one of those situations where when you are a large market team, you've got your Mission Rock project, all your competitors are over the luxury tax threshold and you're not? Like, gosh, I don't like making that statement, but I'm real close. The Giants owe it. They owe it more so to their own players.
Well, to themselves. I was just going to say, they don't owe the fans anything.
Crying out loud, will you engage? For those of you who are old enough to remember the first Top Gun, this is kind of where I've arrived with the Giants. You remember after Goose dies and Maverick won't engage and the other pilots are like, we could have had him, man. Why won't you engage? And that's when Maverick fires on him and goes, I fire when I am damn good and ready. Like, we're there. We're there. I want to go up to Farhan, Larry Baer, and more importantly, I know we all put Farhan at the center of this. I have more trust in Farhan than I do in his bosses. Those are the ones I really want to know about because we're strictly talking money right now.
Well, they want to break even, and they've told you that. They want to come close to breaking even.
That's so much more offensive than anything Farhan or Buster Posey has ever said.
If you want to talk about $40 million, and I know that the luxury tax penalty would be about $4 million, so $44 million for 1 year for a starting pitcher, I could see the ownership blushing and balking at that, thinking, it'd be better if we stayed below the threshold this year, and we'll hope that Carson Wisenhunt can come up in June or July and be a really good starting pitcher. We have them under team control.
Logan Webb has been such an forget good pitcher, ambassador for this team.
Right, he's a leader at 27.
Fighting the fight for the city of San Francisco, for the franchise as a whole. Guy who grew up in Rockland. We've forgiven his fandom of the Raiders and the Adorable Kings. We love this guy. We love this guy as much as anybody who's worn that uniform in the last 5 to 7 years for sure. For crying out loud, will you get him a running mate? Stop sticking him out there to be like, all right, you pitch 7 innings, and then for another 4 days, we'll cobble it together. And by the way, if you sign one of these guys, guess what? By halfway through the year, when Cobb and potentially Robbie Ray are good to go, you might have something real wild called a viable starting rotation.
Right now, the rotation is Logan and the question marks, if you look at it.
That's correct.
You've got Logan Webb, legit top 8 pitcher in the National League,
correct.
top 12 in all of baseball, whatever you want to say. Then you have a converted reliever, a guy who's made 5 major league starts last year as a rook, and then you got Keaton and Tristan. So, you've got wild question marks. Even if you get Snell or Montgomery, your rotation still is top heavy and it's bottom questionable, but at least it would be a big step toward, all right, you got a couple of guys, and then you've got some candidates, and then you've got a young phenom, and now at least you feel like you've got a little bit more than you do right now.
By the way, not just Logan and the question marks. Let's say even all of the question marks go well, you still only have like 5 guys.
Right. Last year you had 13
Yeah,
starters.
you're supposed to cut. Like they've told us all along, you got to have 8 or 9. So I'm not worried about is Jordan Hicks going to end up in the bullpen or something like that? If Cobb is healthy and Ray is healthy and you sign Jordan Montgomery, Kyle Harrison works out, oh gosh, we've got too many starters. Fine. You know damn well that's going to work itself out.
Right.
Especially with 2 of them on the shelf to start the season. This looks like Wesley Hogan, man. This is the biggest no-brainer in the history of mankind. You need it. They want it. No one else can do it. What the hell are you waiting for? Conforto is a client. So was Carlos Correa. Get Boris on the phone. It's March at the end of the week. What are you doing? Do the deal. It's obvious. Everybody knows it.
Well, maybe Snell wants more than 1 year. Maybe Snell wants a 3-year deal from somebody, a 3-year deal that he can sink his teeth into.
Give him a 3-year deal. He's 31.
3 and 120? They won't.
Why not?
Because they don't do that here.
They can still not. They can do that without penalty. Do you know how much money comes off? Like almost $100 million.
I understand. Next year, a lot of people come off the books next year. I think that they would look at 3 and 120 and they would blush at that.
He's a Cy Young Award winner and you're only signing him until he's 34.
Right. You're going to do it, but I don't know if they are going to. The only 9-figure contract they've ever signed is for a KBO player who himself is also a question mark.
He is 1 for 1.
Yeah, he sure
See
is.
his first spring training at bat?
They're getting beat again today.
That's okay.
I know.
They look pretty comfortable up there. Just whack the ball right in the right field.
Spring training.
Base hit.
You see Ohtani go yard?
Yeah, Ohtani went yard in his first, not his first at bat, his first game. He can hit. I'm already convinced.
Yeah, 1 for 3.
Yeah.
1 for 3 today.
That's Hall of Fame numbers.
Yeah, it is. I love it.
Yeah, man, they got to get one of these guys. They got to get one of these guys. It's just like, it's imperative.
Yeah.
It's not a want. This is
No,
not a
you
want.
said it would be an embarrassment if they didn't.
This is a need. If Cody Bellinger, I get it, you've got a center fielder, but if that's the going rate for players of that level now, $80 million over 3 years, and it might only be a 1 year, $30 million deal, if that's the kind of thing that Boras clients are signing for, flat out embarrassment if the Giants don't do that, considering the situation that they're in as compared to their competitors.